Yeah, spent a lot of time on that one, so I wanted to make sure that plays at the beginning of everyone. But welcome back to another episode of Den Transmissions. I'm happy to be here today. We missed last week because I was moving. So if anybody's moved recently, you guys know the struggles and the pains of going through all that. So today we're going to be talking about some Star Wars Outlaws. I've played probably, I don't know, because I'm trying to think of what, I think 13 hours was the last time I checked, and I played once again after that. So we're probably sitting at close to around maybe 20, maybe 18, somewhere up in there. So I feel like I've played enough of the game to where I can give my first initial thoughts. I usually wait a little while on this. I know everybody's pretty quick to like jump in and give their thoughts like right off the bat, but I kind of like to let my opinion sink in and really formulate. It takes me a little while to think about it. But yeah, I wanted to talk about just some aspects of what I've experienced so far, and if you're on the fence about getting the game, or maybe you've already gotten the game and you just want to talk about it, chat. That's what this is here for today. So we're just gonna get excuse me, right into it. So first, I kind of want to talk about the story. Now, I can only give light bits of what's going on with the story because I made it off of Tashara, and I'm on Tatooine now. I was finding the Muscle Hoss. Also, fair point. This is going to be spoiler heavy, so if you haven't played the game and you don't want to be spoiled, I'm not going to spoil a whole bunch, but I am going to be talking about the game in the context, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, so I'm at the part where I just Hoss got messed up by the Massives. That when you fall into Jabba's pit in the Rancor pit with Vale, and then Hoss gets eaten and all that stuff. So we essentially lost the muscle of the group, which I didn't really care for anyway. Like his character was kind of a butthole, I guess is the right word to use. But just to give you kind of a reference point of where I'm at in the game. So I haven't gone to Kajimi. I haven't gone to Akiva. I think I need a Slicer. And then I don't know. I don't remember what the other boss was, or not boss, but the other partner was. But essentially, we're setting up the heist. So the things that I really like about the game so far is that I like how the syndicates play off each other. It really works well. There's three as of right now. They could potentially offer more. There could be the Black Sun Syndicate, or they could make up another one, kind of like the Slero and his group of people. They're a made up syndicate, so you could have tons more to add in the future. But right now we have the Pikes, we have Crimson Dawn, and we have the Hutts, and I feel like that's a good starting point. All of them feel pretty organic and feel like how they would in the universe. I'm not a big fan of the Pikes, so any chance I can like throw my reputation down and like throw them underneath the bus, I try to throw them underneath the bus. I have reasons for liking Crimson Dawn that will not be named. If you know, you know. But yeah, and I'm trying to get in better standings with the Hutts, not because I really want a better standing with the Hutts, but just so I can get that armor. So when you get like exalted in the syndicates, you get like better upgrades from like merchants. They'll give you more intel. Basically, you're rubbing elbows with people. You get the connections, and then they can hook you up. And then you also get like armor sets, and they give you different skins for your weapons, your clothes, ships, bikes, you name it. There's something for it. So that's all pretty cool, and I like how that's all interconnected. I feel like they did a really good job with that. Secondly, I think the buddy kind of co-op that Kay and Nyx have is really good. We're going to talk about mechanics a little further down, and that is probably my favorite mechanic in the game is Nyx. Like, I didn't think I was going to like him that much. Like, I feel like you can utilize him way more than, for instance, like in Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. BD1 is really just there for cuteness, to scan items, and to give you stems, you know. So I feel like they really utilized that character, and it feels like very Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Dexter esque in that sense. So if you grew up kind of playing those sort of games on the PlayStation, I think those will really, I think it'll really sell some of the mechanics for you. And then honestly, I'm just a sucker for a good heist game. Like I love heist movies. I was a big fan of Solo. I know some people weren't super crazy about it. Some people were, you know how the Star Wars fandom goes. But yeah, anytime, even if it's kind of like a mid game or like mid movie, setting up for a heist or even doing the heist, like I grew up on games like Sly Cooper, which are have like a big heist, like thieving kind of aesthetic. So I really appreciate this game for doing that. And we need more smugglers in the world. You know, I don't think we have enough. And that's kind of where, for me, a lot of like the pros end with the story. We'll see. I'll either do another Din transmissions or I'll make an actual like edited video that's not alive, giving my final thoughts once the story's done with. But so far, the story's just okay. It hasn't really blown me away. I'm not in love with Kay as a character. She kind of feels like an off-brand Han Solo, and I know that's kind of a curse that a lot of the smugglers get. I know you got Kyle Katarn's a little bit of a different story because he's like a stormtrooper Jedi. But you've had a lot of like Dash Rendar, for instance, who's just kind of like a spin-off Han Solo. They even gave him like kind of the same ship, but not really. It's like a smaller freighter of like the YT Corellian freighters. So that's kind of it was kind of funny in that. I think even like the original writer was saying like, yeah, I was just trying to like spoof on Han Solo and try to make him as basically just like a Han Solo clone. And I feel like Kay kind of falls into that a little bit. You know, I was talking with my buddy Nick. We recorded a podcast that is hopefully coming out tomorrow. I'll link that in the community tab if you guys are interested. But we were talking about it, and they have Han and Kay have like the circumstances are different, but the themes are still the same. They're both like scrum rats that like basically are just getting by the skin of their teeth, and they do one big mission, it goes wrong, and they quickly have to leave the planet in whatever way they can and escape. And that's exactly what happens with Kay. She goes on a mission. She steals a ship from Slero. Happens to bump into some rebels too, because it's set during the in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And I don't know, it's just too similar. Like some of her mannerisms, she's trying to be like suave and have like Riz almost in a way, and be like super quirky, kind of like how Han is. And I don't know, I feel like they did a good job with Lando, where Lando feels very different from Han, and they're both smugglers. So I feel like they could have given. I don't know exactly what they would need to fix Kay's story, but I would have preferred a different kind of intro, and maybe just a different personality from Han, because I feel like it's not Han. She's not Han Solo, but it's very close. It kind of feels like an imitation. So that's kind of a more of a con for me. She just has that like that wing it personality like Han does. It's like, oh well, if it happens, it happens. I'll make it. I'm the best smuggler in the galaxy, so it'll happen because I'm the best, you know. But yeah, as far as like besides that, everything else I've felt like is pretty okay. You know, like it's not bad. It's just to me, it's kind of like in the middle, and that's where I feel like a lot of this game does. Is it's just kind of like a middle of the roads type of game for me. That I feel like with a lot of tweaks that I'll talk about more so in the mechanics, this could have been a really awesome game with a few tweaks. I feel like it kind of suffers from that Ubisoft curse where like once you play most Ubisoft games, you kind of like it's the same thing. You're playing the same thing every time, just different themes and maybe like different environments and stuff like that. But it feels like I'm playing like an Assassin's Creed game or something along those sort of lines, which is kind of unfortunate. But I will say this, I feel like I'm talking kind of bad about it right now. I am enjoying the game right now. It's just not blowing me the way that I wanted it to. You know, it's not blowing me away. I just want to be in the Star Wars universe and really enjoy the character. I feel like if they would have gone where you can create your own character from scratch, you can create your own smuggler. So automatically it's going to be different from Han or Lando or anybody, because it's your own personal character. Let me be a Twi'lek. Let me be a Zabrak. Let me be a human. Whatever it is. And then even with Nyx, I feel like they could have. I just got to the point to where she saves Nyx from some sort of like cartel syndicate where they're like have a lot of exotic pets, and she breaks them out. Like you could have played that in the game, and then it almost would have been like a weird pseudo Pokemon sort of thing where you could like pick maybe all the creatures do the exact same thing, like they don't have to be, because then that creates crazy amounts of gameplay mechanics, but you could have it to where you pick like whatever kind of creature design, and maybe each one has a little bit of a different, like for instance, like Charizard is or Charmander, sorry, is fire, Pikachu's electricity, Bulbasaur, has the plants and the ivy and all that stuff, and then Squirtle has water. So it could have been something very different like that, giving it way more replayability and playing along with like the syndicates, how you can be in good standings or bad standings with each like kind of syndicate. And then as far as level design goes, the cool thing about the level design is I really think the environment artist and the level designers nailed, like I feel like that's a lot of what's holding this game up and holding the game together, because they did a fantastic job with the environments. I love the way that the maps are laid out. When you go in to Tatooine and you're going into Mos Eisley, like it feels lived in. It feels like I've been a part of that. Hey, what's going on, Percy? Appreciate you popping in and saying hello. All my homies hate the Pikes. Yeah, the Pikes are kind of mid. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they kind of look weird, and they're kind of buttholes. I mean, all syndicates are kind of buttholes, right? That's kind of the purpose of being in a syndicate. Is it's underworld. It's kind of, or not kind of. It is corrupt and stepping over each other. But yeah, I don't know. Every interaction that I've seen with the Pikes, they just have those faces and personalities that, like, when you see them, you want to punch them in the face. I don't know why that is. I couldn't tell you. It's just the way that they act. Like, I don't want to do business with them, and I want to have the lowest reputation. Maybe I'll make a video where, like, I'll do, like, a 180, and I'll try to, like, befriend the Pikes and be, like, God tier in their category, and then, like, crap in everybody else's. That would kind of be a fun playthrough to do. But yeah, no, going back to the environments, man, like, the environments are, in my opinion, and coming from the world of being a game, wanting to be a game, that's what I went to school for, is game design, and I wanted to be an environment artist. These environments feel really great. Like, I think I've spent 18 hours in the game, and a good chunk of that is me just exploring the vast of right now I've only gone to Tatooine, really. Tashara, I've walked around a little bit, but Tatooine's so iconic. That's where I wanted to go. And like I was walking around a corner, and you have a Crimson Dawn kind of employee or a lieutenant or something like that arguing with a Pike about how they're playing Sabacc, and then you kind of just like sit there and listen to them and talk, and depending on like what you think is right or how you feel or whose reputation you want, it doesn't really matter how the game is correctly played. It builds your reputation. But they were literally playing in some back alley, like in the middle of nowhere. Like, I happened to stop by that while I was going to a quest, and I love that feel. Now, on the opposite side of things, I do feel like the characters are very static. And what's going on, JT? I just saw you pop in the stream. Starting my stream up, but just wanted to pop in and say, hey, well, hello there. And appreciate you popping in, man. Have fun on your stream, my dude. Have fun on your stream. But yeah, the characters are very static, and I wish they would have learned or observed, not even learned, just observed how Red Dead's NPCs work, because like each one of those NPCs has like a job that they go to every day. There's like movement around. Like one day one of the shop owners might be sweeping out front, the next day he'll be like inside like polishing a gun or something like that. The next day he'll be fixing something on the shelf. Whereas in Outlaws, I feel like I was talking with my buddy Nick on that podcast. You could throw a grenade in the middle of town where somebody's playing sabacc and they don't flinch a muscle. They just continue playing it, and especially in open world games. And this is my problem with a lot of these companies that are like, oh, our first open world Star Wars game, or this is gonna be the first open world. Like, if you're gonna do it all the way, because you have games like Skyrim, you have games like Fallout, you have games like Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto, for instance, where they've been doing these open worlds forever, and in my opinion, they nail them. They have their problems too. No game is perfect, but I wish it would have taken inspiration from a lot of these other games, because I feel like it would have elevated it, even with like I was saying, like with Kay having like kind of like the personality of Han, or the story kind of being like okay right now. I feel like if the world was enticing to really be in, other than looking beautiful, because it looks great, if it was more enticing to be in and kind of gave you more of that immersion, like that's what I want when I play Star Wars, is I want to be immersed in the game. And I feel like with a few more tweaks, it could have. That's like going to be the whole premise of this Din Transmissions is with a few tweaks. I feel like this game could have been something really special, and it's not bad. It's just not amazing. It's like I said, it's somewhere kind of in the middle, and that's kind of, I'll give like my rating of the game towards the end of the stream. It's just, I don't know, it's just somewhere in the middle, and it just kind of, I feel like this is a game that people are talking about it right now because it just came out. I think it's like a week old to like a week and a half old, and then it's just gonna disappear in the eons of gaming history. It'll just kind of, oh hey, remember that Star Wars Outlaws game? It's cool, yeah, you know. But the character design also too. Like, I'm sorry, but whoever designed those characters, the aliens look good, but all of the humans look super wonky. Like the facial animations aren't great. Um, the the reason why I think it works for the aliens is because the aliens were all like puppeteers or masked in like the original trilogy, and they were CGI'd in the prequel trilogy. Like, I feel like that's why they're kind of getting away with like having some kind of weirdness. But it is cool that we do get a lot. I've been missing that in a lot of the movies and the show, where we don't have a lot of species. It's a lot of human beings, right? Because they don't want to put everybody in prosthetics. It costs a lot of money, things of that nature. We do get it a little bit in Boba Fett, and even the Acolyte had it. I hope with the budget that the Acolyte had, that they could have pulled that off. But yeah, that's kind of it for the level. Oh, I wanted to say too, for the level design. I want to go back because I was traversing Tatooine yesterday, and I really love. You'll have like Mos Espa, right? Or Mos Eisley. Sorry, not Mos Espa. And you'll have to go out to like these other what is it? Freetown in Book of Boba Fett, and in Mandalorian with Cobb Vanth, where he runs that like little small town. You'll have those like out in like the wasteland essentially, or like the Judland Waste, and I really like the atmosphere that the environment creates while you're traveling. There's a lot of like flat open spaces where you get to see a lot of the nature, and every planet, not just this one. I don't know how they're gonna do that with Kajimi, and I've never been to Akiva, so I don't know what Akiva looks like. But for Tatooine and Tashara, I think they nailed it. That atmosphere feels great. I just want to turn on some like Star Wars lo-fi and cruise around all the time. But now I want to get kind of more so into the game mechanics, and this is where I'm going to probably spend a good chunk of my time, kind of talking about and explaining, because I feel like there's a lot of pros here that a lot of people aren't talking about. They just, a lot of people are focused on like the glitches, or how K looks, or something that's kind of off base, and I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about the mechanics of the game. Again, I love the buddy co-op that Nyx and K provide. Nyx is probably my most utilized mechanic, I guess, in the game, is what I should say. I didn't think I was gonna like it so much. Like I love having him like steal stuff, or even if I can reach like a lever or something like that, I'll go have him like pull the lever to like deactivate a camera, or you know grab something off a shelf, or something like that. Like he feels really satisfying, and in my opinion, it's the most fun and fluid mechanic in the game. But we also have the Dead Eye too, which they take from Red Dead Redemption, right? That's kind of like the you have in a lot of games, but Red Dead's really the one that's known for Dead Eye. And I like it when I'm on the ground, right? If I'm running around and there's like a group of stormtroopers in front of me, or a group of pikes, or whoever outlaws who are in front of me, and I can click it and hit, it feels great. On the bike, it feels like ass, and I don't like it. That's another thing, is when you're on the bike, you can't freely shoot, which is really annoying. You have to use the dead eye mechanic, and I don't know, they don't steer for you while you're, and most of the time you're being chased, so you have to turn around and shoot, and like dead eye everybody, and then you have to turn right back around, and I can't tell you how many walls I've hit, or a rock in the middle of the desert that I've hit, because I wasn't looking forward, I was looking back so I could ping all the guys and ladies and others in the chat, not in the chat, what am I even saying, in the game, and you click it, and then I hit a freaking rock, and it's just not intuitive in that sort of way. And plus, like, man, how many games have we had where you can fire weapons on vehicles and it feels great? Like Red Dead Redemption, you have a horse, boom, boom, done. Grand Theft Auto, break a window, pull your gun out, and then you aim and do whatever. Like, I feel like this game has so many buttons on it, and that's probably why that they didn't do that. Is because it's just another thing you have to click. Like you have to boost right, boost left. You can like boost in the middle. You can do the dead eye. Like it's there's a lot of stuff going on. I feel like they could have probably simplified it a tad bit, maybe. But the dead eye while you're walking, like while you're on the ground and not on a speeder, is sick. I like it a whole bunch. I use it as much as I can get. You kind of have to power it up through doing just different activities. If you like pick locks or anything like that, like it kind of builds. It's like a hype meter. Like in most games, you use kind of like an ultimate. But while we're on the topic of the speeder, I really like how that feels. I will say I don't like the shooting on it, and maybe that's why they limited it to the dead eye, because they just couldn't get it to feel right while you're like shooting people. But to me, it really kills the suspense of it, like why I can't like shoot. But just driving it around I've done a few speeder races, jumping off cliffs and jumps really feel satisfying. I love the love the cosmetics. You can change the color of the speeder. Hey, what's going on, Charlie? So where are the muffins, bro? The muffins are everywhere. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. But I appreciate you chiming in and hanging out, kicking it with us. We're talking about some Outlaws. So yeah, but I love the cosmetics. Really, with everything, like they nailed the cosmetics. I'm sucker for good cosmetics. On the speeder, you can do the skins for the speeder. You can have like a kind of like something that hangs off your speeder. Like right now, I have like the Dejarik board that's in a New Hope, when Han and or not Han. Well, Han is playing it, but the one I'm thinking about is when Chewie, C-3PO, and R2-D2, and there's like, oh, a Wookiee's known to like rip off your arms if you lose. I have one of those on it, but I also have a Camtono, not a Camtono. It's a I'm blanking on what it is. It's from Rogue One. It's when Saul hits the Imperial like tank, and they steal all the kyber crystals, whatever that kyber crystal like loader thing is. They just say it's like a smuggler cantina thing in here, but they took it from that has all the kyber that they're stealing off of Jeddah. I have that one, and then yeah, I already said the Jark board. They have the helmet that Lando wears in Return of the Jedi, and those are the three ones I've gotten. And then some pendants that you can have, like you can have like Hans dice or like the rebel symbol or a kyber crystal that just like hangs off your handlebars. So there's a decent amount of customization with that, and then that doesn't even bring into like you kind of get like this midnight club or like Need for Speed sort of vibe because you can upgrade your bike too to do like different things, which is pretty cool. And the same thing goes for your ship. And basically everything I say for the speeder goes for the ship as well. Now the ship mechanics, switching from the speeder to the ship, I haven't played enough of the ship combat yet, and maybe I just don't have the parts yet to make it fun. But to me, the ship mechanics aren't fun. Like I tried fighting right when you get into Tatooine, there's like a big dogfight going on in space. So you literally arrive to the planet, and then like there's TIE fighters, there's the Hutt Syndicate, there's like pirates. It's a whole mess, and I was just getting murked right out the gate. And mind you, too, I'm playing on like I think I clicked normal, you know, and I'm just getting murked left and right. Like there's so many buttons with the ship mechanics, and maybe that's just me. I typically, when games have a crazy amount of like every button has a use on a controller, typically I struggle a little bit with those games just because it's hard to keep track of like everything all at once. But the ship mechanics right now don't feel super fun to me. That'll change, and maybe when I do my review after I beat the game, I'll be singing a different tune. But as of right now, the ship kind of seems like it's an afterthought, which is unfortunate because I love the design. I feel like they put a lot of work into like the customization of it. It just, to me right now, doesn't feel very fun. So we'll see. The flying in and out of systems is cool. There's still a load screen. Like when you're going through the clouds and you're flying through the clouds, like that's a load screen. It's just like stalling you right there. You might be able to move your ship back and forth, but it's stalling you till it loads the next area. So it's not seamless. But honestly, I'm okay with that. Like I'm not going to nitpick that. I still feel like it looks really good going from land to air to through the clouds, and then you're in the galaxy, in space, and then you can jump to hyperspace. So it still feels pretty good as far as that goes with it. But yeah, the ship mechanics just not great. But what I do also not particularly care for is the grenade pouch. And again, this suffers from, I think, that they don't have enough buttons to kind of do everything, because you're typically in like first person shooters or like action adventure, your front bumpers are the ones that like signal the grenade throw, or whatever, picking up items, and both of those items go to Nyx because he's a part of it. So you have to hit left on, I believe it's left on the D-pad, and then I have to hit A to trigger the grenade. And when you're in the heat of combat, that's not the most intuitive thing. I'm have to click like 3 or 4 things just to throw a grenade. So unfortunately for me, the grenades aren't used very often. Now I haven't used the smoke bombs. There are smoke bombs. There's a lot of skill trees that you can buy. So you basically find like mentors throughout the galaxy. So like one mentor can help you with like the blaster fire. Like another mentor could help you with like upgrading your parts, or like learning a new trick on your bike. Like you can hop or you can boost with your bike. And like there's a couple that I haven't found yet, so I don't really know what they do. But basically like little like skill tree people who can like upgrade all your stuff, which that feels nice. And then you just do tasks. This game is also a very task oriented game. Like it's very like, you got to go here, do this, you got to check off all these boxes, you got to check off all these boxes, like go into this base and steal this, or go into this base and sabotage this, or go into this base and collect intel or plant something. It's a very much like a checklisty type of game, which isn't bad. It's just like that's kind of how it plays out, and that kind of leads more so into the stealth mechanics, which I'm kind of 50-50 on. I'm not going to lie. Like there are, I think the sneaking around, I like the fact that you're sneaking around. And what's up, Hold on, Charlie's in here talking. What's going on, man? Max, you're going to be in my ambient background while I train. Well, hey, I'm glad I can serenade you while you're your training montage. I'm your training montage motivational speaker right now, talking about Outlaws. But no, yeah, the sneaking mechanics. It's very slow. Like the way that Kay moves around, it's very slow. She doesn't have like a fast walk, which in my opinion is a hindrance in the game. If I can talk, I particularly don't like it when I can't like speed, because sometimes I'm walking real slow. I'm trying to creep up to the character because if you stand, they'll hear you, right? And that little like speed walk kind of helps it, especially when you're like trying to calculate like, okay, I need to take out this guy, sneak around, carry this guy over here, take this guy out. You kind of want a rhythm going, and it breaks that rhythm. It does create suspense though, so it's kind of like a different playing field, so to speak, because you can't fast walk and like kind of speed up while you're crouching. It does make things a lot more suspenseful. You're like, crap, 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 crap. I remember the last mission that I did, I had to sneak into Jabba's palace, right? Excuse me real quick while I take a... My throat is really dry. I had to sneak into Jabba's palace, and it was super suspenseful, at least playing it. I don't know how it is when you're watching it, because I haven't really watched a lot of Star Wars Outlaws. I'm just telling you how I feel while I'm playing it. And you're like, oh man, I gotta like creep around this corner. I walked out a few times, just willy-nilly walked out, and I was instantly found because there's guards like hiding around corners and stuff like that, or they're stationed around. They're not really hiding, but they're stationed around each corner. So sometimes you have to crouch to do it. So the suspense is great. Like I really like that. And there's multiple ways to get to each objective, which is also really nice. So depending on how much intel you get, like sometimes you can, if you're in favor with a certain hut card, he'll be like, hey, there's a vent here that if you like climb this ladder and go up to the roof to the right, there's a vent that'll lead you straight into where you need to go. Or you'll need to splice this computer once you get into like the main overseer's office. Here's the code so you don't have to splice it. It'll save you some time. Or there's four cameras stationed around this specific thing. Here's the access code to like turn them off or something. It gives you those type of like multiple ways to get in and kind of solve, which I always like with sneaking games. The pick locking feels, there's people who are 50-50 on the pick locking. To be honest with you, with me, I don't personally mind it. The rhythm base for me is nice. I kind of like trying to nail it because like I'm not really good with rhythm games. Like I've never been good with like Guitar Hero or anything like that. Hi-Fi Rush I was okay at, but yeah, definitely go play that. That's a game that you need to play if you haven't played it, because it's awesome. It's a hack and slash rhythm based game. But the one thing that I do like with the lock picking is that they give you the option to turn it off if you don't like it. Like if you don't like the slicing objectives or the pick locking, because I get it, there's a lot. You're breaking into facilities, so everything's locked down. Everything has a code. Everything needs to be sliced. It can kind of get very repetitive. You're like, all right, man, I've unlocked like 65 things and I have like halfway to go, So they allow you to turn those options off, and then Kay I imagine she just does it herself. I haven't turned it off and tried it, so I don't know exactly what happens. I imagine it just happens, and maybe there's some times where she doesn't, like, oh man, I didn't get it, and then you have to try it again, and then she'll get it on the second time or something. That it kind of like, maybe there's a randomizer in it, I'm not sure. But I love it when games give you the option to like turn stuff on, turn stuff off. I feel like that's the best way to do it, because I know that they know that rhythm stuff can be kind of dicey sometimes. Some of the stuff that I'm not super crazy about though is I don't like that you can pick up, so all you have is a blaster, right? Throughout the whole game. Like you don't get any other weapons. I think you can get like a shock kind of like taser thing to take out the death troopers eventually, but you have to upgrade to that. You can't take any of the weapons with you. So if you talk to a character, or if you try to slice something, like she doesn't like put it on her back or put it like on a separate holster, she instantly drops the weapon, which is really annoying. And I feel like I'm okay with not being able to carry the weapon with me everywhere I go and all the time. with the, it kind of has a bar and it drains, the ammo drains, and then you just kind of got to toss it aside. Like, I'm okay with that. I just don't want to have to carry a weapon around, then I have to climb a ladder and I instantly drop the weapon. I'm like, let me take it up there with me. I feel like they did a good job with, like, not to where you're just gonna, like, hog like a certain type of weapon because you're like, oh, I don't want to use the blaster, I want to use the E11, or like the AE, what is it? Is it the AE? Is it 260, 360? I can't remember. With the Rebel sniper, kind of like three bar sniper is, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could have done it to where she could have just like put it on her back, or like Nyx could have carried it or something, like, something little. That's like more of a nitpick, but also the fact that she doesn't have any melee weapons. So the main way to sneak around, and like if a guard's in your way, is you gotta knock them out, right? And it's very like Looney Tunes kind of like cartoon where she just goes and like bonks the stormtrooper on the head, or like, why I ought to give you the 1-2 punch, and like, I'm telling you, she should be not a smuggler, she should be an MMA fighter, because she knocks people out in like 2 or 3 hits and they're done. They're down for the count. She needs a that I would have so much respect for the game if it was Outlaws. And she's like, you know what? I could actually make a living doing that. Or somebody says, like, you know what, kid? You actually have what it takes to be the heavyweight champion of the galaxy. And then it completely changes. And then it becomes an MMA game where you're just beating the crap out of people as K. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like she should have like a baton, or like a zap rifle, or like even, like the, why am I blanking on the brass knuckles, the electric brass knuckles that Black Chrysanthemum has in Book of Boba Fett? Something similar to that. Like, get creative with it. Think about like uh, crime lords and syndicates and all that stuff in real life, and mob bosses and like stuff that they use. Like, she could have used something similar to that, or found something similar. So when she goes to bonk a stormtrooper on the head, or a character that has a helmet, which is a lot of the characters, they're wearing helmets, it doesn't just look like she's just hitting them on the head with barehanded. I played football basically all my life, and if somebody came up and punched me in the head while I was wearing a helmet on, like, I would move, obviously, right? Like, you're with the movement, you're gonna move. That's not gonna knock me out. That's not gonna, to be honest with you, that's not gonna hurt me. I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, and then go on and do what I'm doing. It really breaks that immersion for me. And with a simple tweak of, really all you need to do is change the animation and make her hold a baton in her hand or something like that, like Jyn does. And because when Jyn's taking out the stormtroopers on Jeddah, like, I feel like I didn't question it at all. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's badass. I don't have a problem with that. It just kind of falls into that same thing with like Tara and Kenobi, where she's like bonking stormtroopers too, and like grabbing them. Like, at least she did grab him like underneath the helmet and like slam him. That made a little bit more sense. But like, you're wearing the helmets for a reason. Like, they're gonna protect you from like solid punches. Maybe not blaster fire, but solid punches. What you saying, Percy? That was my Cyberpunk 2077 playthrough. Only upgrade melee, and because heavyweight champion, and became the heavyweight champion of the world. Oh, that's funny. I didn't know I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. I want to play that. Maybe I'll do it on the channel, because I've heard it's become leaps and bounds better than what it is. But that's cool, man. You went the melee build. Yeah, you don't really have a choice in this game. You can either go loud and use your pistol, and then pick up weapons along the way, or you can give them the old 1-2 punch with your hands. And that leads kind of into, I wish that they gave you the option to like pick up the bodies and like carry them like off into the distance, or hiding somewhere. Like in Assassin's Creed, you can like throw enemies into like hay barrels, or take them into like the long tall grass, so enemies won't find it. I don't like the fact that I have to strategically be like, okay, I have to wait for this dude to turn the corner, so the two guys that are standing guard over there, they don't see him just lying on the ground. And I've been in parts of missions where I've knocked somebody out, it's been fine, I'll walk like way past the mission, go to like a almost like another objective, splicing my way through everything, and a question mark comes up because it's like a little almost like a Scooby how like Scooby Doo has his like SD like abbreviations on his collar, like a little like symbol like that pops up with a question mark, meaning like a guard has spotted something funky. And I'm like, that's kind of lame. Like, I'm already like, if, for instance, like in Jabba's palace, I was like almost into Jabba's palace. I hit somebody at the very beginning of the game, and somebody found him. I'm like, it just to me, it kind of broke the immersion, and you can really alleviate that by, hell, even use like it's Ubisoft, right? So just use the animation. I know they have an animation archive. Use the animations from that, from Assassin's Creed, and just build it in. That's, I mean, I feel like that's very standard stealth mechanics, especially when you're sneaking in and taking people out. The Hitman game developer should do a game like this. Hide the bodies. Yeah, man. That's another thing that, I'm glad you brought up Hitman because that's another one of the things I felt like they really could have added to the game is disguises. I would love to like sneak into like the huts, right? Knock somebody out and steal their disguise. And you're going to be like, well, Max, like if you do that, then what's to stop the player from knocking one of the players out and instantly just using the disguise as like basically like a goaded way to get through all the facilities? And my thing to that would be is you need to tell the AI, the NPCs, you can tell when somebody's out of place. Like if somebody doesn't belong, a lot of like that was the whole point with the Empire, right? Like in Cassian and Andor, Cassian could sneak into like any Imperial facility, right? Or he was saying a lot of them, and just act like he belonged because they were so like happy and satisfied that they took over the world that they don't really pay attention to the little like peons like him that just can like sneak in and like don a disguise. But these are like syndicates, those Hut syndicates. This is Crimson Dawn. This is the Pikes. I feel like they're gonna know if they, especially too, if they like notice somebody and they're gonna be like, "Hey, I haven't seen you around" or something like that. You could make it to where like you have to have some distance. Like if you get too close, if Kay gets too close to like a guard or something like that, he's like, "Hey, I haven't noticed you around," or "Why aren't you like with a patrol?" or something like that, to where you're not just abusing that mechanic the whole time. But that's like one of the funnest things in Hitman is like you take you out your target or whatever, and then you dress up as like the laundry man or something like that, and as the cops are like bomb rushing in to try to find out who killed the CEO of Mr. Clean or whatever, Downey, you're like sneaking out as one of the maintenance mans or something like that. And I feel like this game could have had something very similar to that. So that's what, when you brought up Hitman and developers of Hitman, I was like, you know what, that would have been, I think it would have like, these are all stuff that I think would have made if they would have added it in the game, it would have been that little bit of attention to detail that would have made this game really something. And even though the story's kind of like so far, like I feel like the game mechanics alone would have like pushed it to be an awesome game. Like I said, I feel like when I talk about this stuff, it feels like I'm just been for the past we're already at 40 minutes just crapping on the game for 40 minutes. I'm actually really enjoying the game, and a lot of the mechanics that are in it. There is a lot of clunkiness in the game, and I'm not denying that at all, but I'm also not denying that I am having fun with it. So there is those two dynamics. I'm just trying to give like my critical, or as critical as I can be, thoughts on my like first impressions of the game. But yeah, we talked about fast crouching. Getting info from guards and taking hostages. So I'm gonna call on, and Charlie, I know you're listening in the background, Metal Gear Solid 3. So in Metal Gear Solid 3, when you're playing, you can sneak up behind a guard, and basically what you do is you like put them in a headlock, and you can like click circle, and it goes it's super funny actually, when they make that like choking noise, and they're like and if you choke them enough, they'll give you information, or like you like put a gun to their head, and they'll be like, "Oh, the passcode to this door is 123," or "Oh, I heard the boss keeps diamonds underneath his desk, taped underneath his desk, or oh, there's cool info about Crimson Dawn that you'll need to get from here. And I feel like that would have been cool as well to add. Not necessarily needed to make the game amazing, but I think it would have tied into like the multiple ways an objective can be completed, and the info that you get. Because like, what if they're like, he could be like, oh, you hold a gun up to him and be like, oh, they know you're coming, so maybe you have to take the ventilation because they're waiting for you right after you open up the main door to get into the boss's headquarters, or something like that. And then also when you're in the boss's headquarters, there's a lot of the times where there's like a pressure plate or something, like you splice something and it triggers an alarm. I think what could be kind of cool in those situations is you can grab a hostage and like maybe they don't, maybe it's not allowing you to get like all the way out of the facility, but maybe it allows you to get out of the areas that you're kind of like pigeonholed in. So if you're in the boss's like main like hideout, like his office, you grab one of the guards, all the other guards are around you, and maybe they shoot him eventually, but maybe you can like walk out of the boss's office. It opens you up to the rest of the crime syndicate's base, and then you can sneak around from there. It's just like little things. Hey Sarah, what's going on? Appreciate you stopping in. I've just been blabbing about Outlaws for the past 46. I can't even believe it's 46 minutes. I feel like I've been talking this whole time, and I feel like it's been like 5-10 minutes. It's really crazy. But yeah, that's kind of my whole thing with stealth mechanics. They're not bad. There's a lot of stuff that's fun, but I feel like with a few tweaks, it could have gone from like that's the thing. Like I keep saying that. Oh, I feel like I'm a broken record over and over again. This game has a lot of good stuff in it. It just needs that little bit of extraness that I feel like maybe if they would have taken, I don't know, maybe one more. I know that's another year without a Star Wars game, but one more year of development, they could have really pushed a lot of these like baseline mechanics to be something really special, and to make it a game that's going to stand the test of time. Because that's the thing. Hey, Stanley's, what's going on, man? Appreciate you popping in too. Everybody's popping in now. It's a party. But yeah, because I feel like this is a game that, at least within like my community, a lot of people are passing over. A lot of people are just watching like me play it, or they're watching others play it. I feel like that's a lot of people right now. I think it's unfortunate, because with a lot of tweaking, I feel like this game could be something, again, really special. Like, they have a lot of good stuff here with the syndicates, with the customization, with using nicks. The environments are on point. The speeders feel satisfying. The ship is to be determined. Right now, it's not, but I feel like if I upgrade some stuff, it could actually be pretty fun. I'm also just not crazy on ship combat in general. Like, when going to Battlefront 2 and or not 3, but going to Battlefront 2, like the OG one, and then Battlefront 2, the 2017, I could be wrong on that date, but the new Battlefront 2, never played really the space combat. Like, I played it a little bit in the OG Battlefront 2, but I skip a lot of that stuff because it's not as fun to me. I've never really been into like flight simulators. I didn't play a lot of Squadrons. I will say though, the old school Rogue Squadron games are amazing, and I love those. So those are exceptions to the rule. No, we're not counting those. But yeah, just with a lot of tweaking, I feel like this game could be something super super special. It just, right now, I feel like it's just gonna be, in my honest opinion, a mediocre Star Wars game. Like, it's good, but it's not amazing or anything like to. It's not going to stand the test of time, and maybe that's not what Ubisoft cares about. Like, I'm not even talking about the developers of the game. I'm just talking about Ubisoft as the publisher as a whole. Maybe they're not concerned about games that stand the test of time. They're more concerned about getting a game out, and as long as it does okay, they'll move on to the next one. As long as that one does okay, it just keeps them in the continuation of creating games, because it is hard to create something that does stand the test of time, like the original trilogy, like the prequel trilogy, like a lot of stuff that George created. Like, that stuff will be around forever. It stands the test of time. It won't be forgotten, and a lot of other movies and video games and things like that. But let me quit yakking real quick because I see you guys blowing up the chat, and let me read some of your comments real quick before I talk about. I mean, I guess that's really it. Yeah, I don't really have much more other than like the. We talked about gameplay. We talked about the level design. Talked about the story and the stealth mechanics. Um, so maybe we'll just we'll finish up here and talk because like we were going to talk about some glitches. The only really glitches I had to end my first stream that I did because I was just having it was just a glitch. I almost wish I kept it because of how glitchy it was, but that wasn't the game's fault. That was I downloaded the game on the C drive, or not the C drive. I downloaded it on. It's not an external. It's built into my computer, but it's another SSD, basically memory storage unit. I downloaded it on that. Assassin's Creed Mirage seemed to play fine, and all my other games seemed to play fine for the most part. But Outlaws had a problem with it. I don't know. Sometimes if you don't download your games on the C drive directly, it like totally messes them up. So that was kind of on me. But I know there's a lot of players who they got like 5 to 6 hours into the game, sometimes even 10 hours, because they got early access, right? And there was like a game breaking bug that basically made you have to restart your game completely. And I know that turned off a lot of players because they're like, man, I've spent 5 6 hours in the game and now you're telling me I have to restart it. Like, what the heck is this? You're charging me. And I think that's the thing that is turning a lot of people also off to this game is that the price points, they just feel hollow. It just feels like, hey, we're trying to take your money, and not like, hey, we're trying to give you something of value while also like making money. Like, I get it, they're a company, they need to make money to continue making games. They have, you know, Ubisoft has I don't even know how many development. I know they have at least 5 development. They have like Ubisoft Quebec, they have Ubisoft Singapore, they have Ubisoft like there's so many different Ubisoft London, you know, there's so many different ones. So they gotta make money too, but give people the value. And I feel like a lot of people are feeling cheated because of stuff like that, or like textures not loading in right, or like characters clipping real bad. Or the other day, Nyx was on. He hopped on a table and he was just blinking and glitching. Like, I don't know. I didn't spend $70 on the game because I got it through Ubisoft Plus, which I recommend everybody doing. If you have a PC, I think you can even do it on your consoles too. I wouldn't buy the game if you want to have the physical game, because like I'm gonna eventually buy it too, just because I have almost every Star Wars game like physical in my collection, so I'll probably buy it when it's like 20 30 bucks, you know, for PlayStation 5. But yeah, dude, buy a month of Ubisoft Plus, play it for $20, then you can play all the other games that Ubisoft Plus has. You can beat this game easily within a month, and then you only have to spend $20. And if you like it and you want to play more of it, you know, go out and buy it when it's on a sale. Ubisoft is constantly known for running the sales. I would be extremely surprised if by Black Friday or Christmas time if there wasn't a huge sale on this game. So let me pop in here and see. We got Sarah. Oh no, Stanley's actually first. So they released a 75% finished game. Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. 75 might be generous. It just depends. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're like a casual gamer who just likes story, and you know, you play games when you get off of work and you're just more of a cat, like you're not really sweaty about games, this game is fine. If you like Star Wars and you're just looking for a cool adventure, 100%. If you're sweaty about Star Wars, or you're sweaty about video games, or you have like a long history, like myself, have a long history of video games, you're gonna see some of the cracks and the crevices and all that stuff that come with a AAA game like this. And that's just the curse of also AAA games. Like, AAA gaming is in a really weird spot right now where you know, the developers don't have a lot of say, right? They're just getting these big sums of money from the corporations, and the suits are like, hey, we need it out by this time, no matter what it is, and then you can fix it. Like, I don't know what happened to gaming to where like it became socially acceptable to release broken games, and then over years fix them. You know, you got your No Man's Skies, you even got your Battlefront 2. Sorry, 2017. That game was abysmal at launch. It was horrendous. Like it was, honestly, it was a joke. And towards the end of its lifespan, the game actually became something really great. I really loved a lot of the capture the command post supremacy, a lot of the conquest, a lot of those game modes. It just sucked that a lot of the microtransactions and like just glitchiness and long load times really took it away. And it kind of falls under the same category of this. Is like they're giving you kind of like a baseline generic hero's journey that's very close to Han. The environment and the worlds are interesting. Like I get lost, and I've done more side quests than I have done the main missions because I like the world and I like exploring it. It feels good to be in Star Wars and actually have like a very visually pleasing environment to walk through. Like I can't speak on Kajimi or Akiva, but Tashara and Tatooine are so much fun to traverse and explore and talk to the locals. I remember just talking to one merchant that you can't buy stuff from normally, but I just happened to be like, "Hey kid, like come over here. Hey you, like come over here and talk to me." And they gave me a cosmetic for Nyx. I got like little sand dweller like goggles that I can put on them that just sit in there. Like, it's like little stuff like that's great. They got the arcades that you can go in, and like there's mini games on top of that. You got the sabacc and the Psylop sabacc and the betting on the horse races. So there's a lot of stuff to do in the game. Like this game, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this game's garbage. Like I'm not giving any of my money to that." The game's not garbage. It's just maybe even 75% is being generous. I would say somewhere between 60 and 70% like good, and then the rest is just kind of I don't know. It could be better. Like they they needed to, I think they should have taken a lot of inspiration from like GTA, Grand Theft Auto, you know, a lot of those, even Skyrim, with like the choices and the dialogue and how you can like pick some. Because right now to me what it feels like is you pick a specific dialogue option, and the only thing that it affects is your reputation with the syndicate, but it doesn't really come back to bite you in the ass like down the line. Like I like the Baldur's Gate approach, and that's another thing. Is like they could have. It doesn't need to be Baldur's Gate. It doesn't need to have over like a million lines of dialogue or different courses that you can. It doesn't need to be that. That would be awesome if it was, but that's not what's necessary, you know. But I want to be where, for instance, I'm on Tashara, and I screw over this bartender, right? Well, maybe that bartender has a cousin or a brother who is a bounty hunter, and later on in the game, you're maybe on a different planet, or you're on Tashara on a different location, and then that bounty hunter comes out of nowhere in like the worst time and be like, "Hey, you screwed over my brother. Now I'm gonna like turn you in for a bounty, or I'm gonna kill you," or something like that. I like those aspects of like doing something now, and then down the road something happens because of that. Like it really gives you that immersive gameplay. So yeah, that's that rant for the 75% finished. But Sarah says, "I feel like the problem with Outlaws is that it plays it really safe, and it doesn't really take enough kind of risk to push the boundaries." Yeah, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. It had potential to be the game of the year and a decent story. See, so I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't know if it has the potential to be the game of the year, but it could have been one of the higher up games. I know that there's a lot of heavy hitters coming out. We got Sun Wukong, which I'm planning on getting and playing on the channel once I beat out. I'm just trying to play one game, then get another game. We got Sun Wukong. We got the Space Marines. In my opinion, I like Star Wars Hunters better than Outlaws. I know it's only for the Switch and for mobile devices, but that game is way more fun. The mechanics feel way better. The characters are all like brand new, kind of like in this game. You see a few, like we saw Boba Fett yesterday. Spoilers for people who haven't played the game. But if you haven't played the game and you haven't seen Boba Fett, like what are you doing here? Come on. But yeah, no, Star Wars Hunters is a way better game, and I'm blanking on all the other awesome games that came out this year. But there was a lot of really cool games. So game of the year, I don't know, but I think and I can't speak to the story quite yet either because I haven't beaten it. So I'm gonna definitely do either another Den Transmissions. I've already done two Den Transmissions on Outlaws, so maybe I'll make it an actual like recorded video giving my thoughts. I don't know if I want to give a whole nother weekly like Den Transmissions to Outlaws, but we'll see on that front. But yeah, I completely agree. That's the problem I think that this game has is they try to play it too safe, and like again, it just kind of feels like every other like Ubisoft game, and that's because I grew up with you. I mean, I played every Assassin's Creed game minus like the last like I think like three. I didn't play. Um, Crap, I played Odyssey, or no, sorry, I didn't play Odyssey. I played Origins. I didn't play Odyssey. I didn't play Valhalla. I didn't play. I'm playing through Mirage right now, and then I know there's another one, and I'm probably not going to play through the one that they're doing right now with it being in Japan. And I know there's a whole controversy over that we're not going to get into right now. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of fallen out of love with that franchise. But that's the thing with Ubisoft games. I feel like, I can't remember where I heard that, but somebody said that, and I was like, wow, you're like it like blew my mind. It was like, yeah, once you played one Ubisoft game, you kind of feel like you've played them all because they all kind of play them safe and they have a formula. It's kind of the same thing with like what Marvel's going through right now. Is it feels a lot really like formulaic, and I'm like, just experiment a little bit more, do a little bit. I listed off a lot of those mechanics for the stealth. Try those out. When Sarah, I know you were in the stream, the very first one I did that I actually deleted because it was too glitchy. There was a like police officer on Canto Bight, and he had parked his speeder. They have like these, they literally look like forklifts almost with like wings a little bit, and he had parked it like on some corner, and he was making somebody scrub graffiti off the wall. And I'm like, man, I want to be able to like hop in this thing and like take it away and have my wanted level go up. Or there's millions of speeders in the game. I want to be able to like hop on the speeders and like drive around and steal somebody's. I want it to like give me a different wanted level. I want people to chase me at like, I think there could even be like a reputation kind of like in Red Dead with like the citizens, to where like if you have high honor, people are like, oh hey, look, I have this for you. Like you did such a good job like saving the townsfolk from this raider that I wanted to give you these boots that I made you. And they give you +5 accuracy or some cool thing like that. Or vice versa, if you're just a freaking Banthapoodoo and you're shooting up the town, you're stealing people's speeders, you're punching people in the face, you're getting in fights, you're stealing, like shops will close their doors to you outside of the syndicate. I'm talking about shops will close their door to you. They'll spit on you. They'll call you names, and like that's the type of I feel like they preach this open world, and in a way, because they preached it so much, it almost feels hollow with how much we got. Not enough high tier criminal engagement. This should have been a cross between GTA and Red Dead Redemption meets Star Wars. I completely agree. But the thing with that is too, you got to think is GTA and Red Dead Redemption took, I want to say Red Dead, they said took 12 years to make Red Dead 2, and I don't even know how, probably 10 years. Ubisoft doesn't do that. And that's the caveat, and that's why I feel like they have a formula and they stick to it, because Ubisoft's not going to spend 10 years developing a game, developing all those AI, developing the mechanics, and it just leaves this kind of hollow. And that's why I say it's, when you were like, oh, the game's 75% finished, it feels like it's more like 60, maybe even 50. I said 60 to 70, but maybe it's 50 to 60. Just because it feels hollow. They don't spend the time it needs. Like open world games, like most games, I would say between 1 to 3 years, you can knock out a good game. When it goes to open world or like MMOs, I mean, that number goes through the roof. I mean, you need, I would say for an open world game, 5 years plus, it could, because there's so much that goes like, so there's so much that goes into open world stuff that if you don't have that in the game, you can see through the cracks really easily. And I think that's what this game is suffering from, is that there's cracks in the level, if that's making sense, like hypothetical cracks in the game, that it breaks your immersion. You don't really feel like you're in it. And it's kind of a weird pseudo thing, because like the environments do really well, right? The exploration is awesome, but then like you see the facial animations, or like you're limited in how you can sneak or how you can play the games. So it's a really weird combo of how it goes. Sarah says, agreed. The reputation system needed to have more severe consequences to it, add more immersion to the gameplay experience. Yeah. I mean, that's facts. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think the baseline of everything is there. It just needs to make this game be an okay game to a great game. All the baseline stuff needs to be pushed, and that's kind of where I think I'm going to end it, because we're at an hour here. I would say for me, as of right now, this game is a 5 out of 10 for me. I think depending on how the story plays out, it could be a 6. It could bump up one more, 6 out of 10. But I don't foresee it really going past that. Nick, CGS Props, he's been on the channel a lot. He pops into a lot of these streams too. And he was saying that even he played, because he got the DLCs, Jabba's Gambit, he's like, I may have spent 30 minutes on it. And I'm really hoping that a lot of the other ones, like we have A Pirate's Fortune and, oh man, I'm blanking, like the High Roller High Stakes, where it's the Lando mission. One's Lando and one's Hondo Anaka. And he was just like, yeah, there's not a lot of meat on the bones. He's like, I feel like this could have been something that you could have just put in the game. It feels like they literally just took a mission out of the game and was like, let's make this DLC to give them more value. But it doesn't really like give them more value. And it's unfortunate. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think it's a 5 out of 10 for me right now. I would wait if you're gonna, unless you just really want to play something Star Wars, man. Like, this isn't an awful game by any means. Like, it's playable. You can have some fun in it, but just don't be looking for a Force Unleashed or a Jedi Survivor level of game, and that's kind of, I think, where I'm going to end it today. Again, we're at an hour and 7. I thought I was going to talk for 30 minutes and be done with this, but yeah, we'll probably do one more. We'll probably do one more talk about this once I actually beat the game. I can give my final thoughts on it and say my piece. But thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I'm glad to be back doing these Gen transmissions. These have been so much fun to do, and I appreciate everybody who's popping in and saying hey and chatting. This is what I want from the Gen transmissions, just not me, ear vomiting to you guys for an hour to an hour and a half. I really love the conversations that we have here. But yeah, if you guys want to stick around, I will be. I feel it feels like I just got done crapping on Outlaws for an hour, but I will be playing some Star Wars Outlaw probably in the next like 20 to 30 minutes. I think I'm gonna hop off, go grab some food, hop on and play for a few hours if you guys are interested and want to hang out there. But thank you guys for watching. This is gonna end Den Transmission episode 5. I will see you guys next week for Den Transmission episode 6, and as always, may the Force be with you.